Day 42 in lockdown, and I've made a discovery today on day 42. It's not something I've ever really been aware of, particularly, just to confirm it is me and not Colonel Bloodlock again. It's me, and this discovery that I've just made, I have been married to my beautiful wife for a very, very long time, and as you've probably heard before, my wife does suffer from mental illness. I'm also on medication for mental illness, yep. But I've never seen my wife really suffer from the other side of what could be called, well, what she believes that she is told is bipolar disorder. Bipolar is a very interesting and a very tragic condition, I guess. Bi is the important word in it. You can either be incredibly depressed, yeah, or perhaps you can go the other way and you can be perhaps even ecstatic, but certainly manic, yeah. And to use the word manic in its proper sense, agitated, thoughts racing, speech going really, really fast, feeling that you have to do something. Actually watched my wife for the first time pretty much ever in a more manic state. Actually physically jittery. I could see that, yeah? And she is going through a change in medication at the moment, but it was quite strange to see that, to know that she literally had to get out and walk somewhere, go somewhere, not with thoughts of killing herself or anything like that. I mean, she's phoned me back now that she's got there. But it suddenly struck me that through this change in medication and whatever, how important it must be for people with this condition and similar conditions to actually physically be able to get out or to exercise or to do something. The contrast between the two states is absolutely amazing. But I can see and I can begin to understand that it must be incredibly distressing. Obviously, the previous medication that she was on was probably suppressing the manic phase really, really well. I just wanted to share that with you at the beginning of day 42 of lockdown, not because it is perhaps of national interest. It may be interesting to some of you who have bipolar, PTSD, and other associated disorders. But also something I think that is important is, you imagine the government wanting to get everybody back to work, yeah, wanting to have everybody declared fit to work. Just imagine that with somebody who is ill like my wife. And another thing I think you can certainly look forwards to with this government, believe me, when it's back to life as normal, when lockdown is ended, and it will be back to normal. Can you imagine those people who have survived COVID-19? I mean, apparently Boris doesn't look too badly affected now that he's come through it, although, as I have said before, I think he did still sound a little breathless. Can you imagine the people that have survived, maybe been weaned off ventilators and whatever, and they now have severe lung damage? They may actually require supplemental oxygen at home or in a cylinder that they can carry around with them, and you've probably seen people in that having oxygen therapy while still moving around, yeah? They may require this for the rest of their life, They may literally have kind of almost like holes, bits missing in their lungs. They'll never be able to get back to sort of full respiratory capacity. Well, remember, these people are going to have to go for a fit for work interview. Yep. And they may not even get that fit for work interview over the, they may not get it face to face. They may get it over the telephone. Yeah. They may have to prove whether they can walk or not without getting breathless. And they may have to do that over the telephone. That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. And of course, many of them are going to be forced into job searching. It won't matter. It really won't matter that COVID left them disabled, sick and disabled. It won't matter. They can breathe. They can stand up. They can put a pen in their top pocket. The Department of Workfare and Punishment will tell those sick people, either job search or you don't get any benefit. Either job search or starve. Yeah? Believe me, that's not going to change. And those ill people are going to find out, sadly, what it's really like to live under a Tory government. Just another brief one, and then I think we'll be gone on this one because I'm waiting, obviously, for my wife to come back. Another brief one. Johnson has given £60,000 to the families of those bereaved as a result of COVID-19, those working in our front line. It seems kind of like blood money, in all honesty, but I'm sure obviously the families will be able to use that money. The Panorama thing, everyone is going on about. I've also been posting about it as well. How despicable can it be that government ministers, to make it look like they're delivering millions of, and I use the words of items of PPE, use interesting word, millions of items of PPE, are actually counting pairs of gloves as two separate items. That's despicable. It's absolutely despicable. It's lying. It's making the figures look good. And while you're doing that, acknowledge at least that you didn't really prepare for this. Acknowledge at least that you were told to downgrade the virus so that other PPE may be acceptable. At least acknowledge that. At least acknowledge that for the people who have caught the disease and died through doing their work to help and save others. At least acknowledge that, you lying swine. But they won't, will they? Even on the actual death toll, which, if you took the last estimate from Financial Times, that nearly a week or so ago, that was standing, if you include, which they won't, care homes and people dying outside hospital. Well, actually, Johnson comes back even then to a total of over 41,000 people dead through the disease. Of course, if you try to extrapolate those figures further, at that kind of rate, and keep including people who are not currently included in the death toll, with something we must be at a figure of over 50,000 people dead. And Johnson is trying to spin that as a successful outcome. Well, okay, he's not using that figure, but he's trying to spin it as a successful outcome. You're being lied to, as always, by your government. Dither and delay has cost human lives. And now, of course, they'll ban the FT from any press conferences. Like they'll ban Channel 4 as well. Fortunately, the BBC has done rather a good job with Panorama. I wonder if the government will ban the BBC. It's interesting. Do you think the government will ban the BBC? One thing's for certain, though. There will be no public inquiry. Well, even if there was, the government would be found to have done a brilliant job. If there was a public inquiry, everybody would be exonerated. They did the best, the very, very, very best they could. No one got anything wrong. No one made any mistakes. No one is guilty of anything. That's what the inquiry naturally would find. Yeah, we know that. For God's sake, people are still not, medics, frontline workers are still not getting the PPE that they need. Meanwhile, of course, we have also, as we know, either had it stored in warehouses, or we have exported it to other countries. That's what's happening. And all the time, you will now see very rich businessmen, the leaders of giant corporations, are clamouring. Lift the lockdown. Get them back to work. They're clamouring. They're screaming. Yeah. Because our work, our labour, our effort makes them billionaires. And not only does it generate their wealth, it generates their power over politicians, society, and the world. Yeah? They need us doing that, not just to make more wealth for them, because they've got more wealth than you could spend in 10 lifetimes. Yeah? They need us to get them money, which gets them power. Right, well, I'm going to leave it at that, but I hope you were interested in that observation I shared on my wife's condition. I think if anybody's suffering with mental illness who is currently locked down, please, if you fancy putting a comment on, tell me how you're coping. I would be very interested. Take care, look after each other, do your best, obey the lockdown, and remember, don't listen to those people who want everyone back at work now.